Absolutely, it is a few minutes to 1 o'clock right here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. Good afternoon. I trust you're having yourself a wonderful Sunday after the dose of the Sunday show with my colleagues Maria Kinyanju as well as DJ Hobbs. Time now to bring you up to date with what's making headlines from across the country and beyond. We thank you for choosing TV 47 to inform you. My name is George Maringa. Here now are the highlights. Among the top stories making headlines at this hour, the National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF, informs the public and employers that, moving forward, all payments for services must be made exclusively through government pay bill number 22222. The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, KMPDU, has warned that more doctors in several counties will be joining the strike that is already on in Vihiga County. Plus, meet a remarkable woman who defies societal norms, navigating a path of self-reliance to provide for both herself and her family. On the socials, I'm at George Maringa _ use the hashtag #NewsNow. We thank you for choosing us as always to inform you. To our top story, where the National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF, has today issued a notification to the public and employers announcing a mandatory shift in the payment method for services. According to a statement signed by Chief Executive Officer, that is Elijah Wachira, the agency declared that henceforth all payments must be exclusively processed through the government pay bill number, that is 22222. The changes, effective immediately, mean that NHIF members intending to settle their contributions must input their pay bill number and utilize their NHIF MID number as the account number. In cases involving penalties, individuals should use their NHIF PID number when making payments. This adjustment aims to streamline and facilitate the payment process for NHIF services. Now, the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, that is KMPDU, has warned that more doctors in several counties will be joining the strike that is already on in Vihiga County in what the union terms as failure by the county government to provide quality and accessible healthcare services to their residents. Speaking after a meeting with doctors in Vihiga, KMPDU National Secretary General Dr. Davji Atela has pointed out loopholes in the healthcare management system within the counties that have already received notices of doctors' strike, insisting that the medical officers shall not lower their tone until their demands are met.
Strike is essentially for the people of Vihiga to be able to access care. The notice was given prior that doctors were out to meet the governor, to meet the county management, to resolve these issues. But the non-responsiveness of the county, as I said, the county was already on strike, and that's why we joined them. And therefore, these demands that we had put in place must be all fully implemented before doctors return to work. We also have put counties on notice. This is Busia County, which actually promoted doctors 2 years ago, and some 1 year ago, and some 6 months ago, and they just gave love letters, which are not being implemented. We have given them, put them on notice. I know they had gone to court over this matter, but we are saying we will not allow the counties to use courts to perpetrate injustice. We are just from meeting those doctors, and we have given the county about 14 days this month to resolve that issue, of which failure to which I'm so sure those doctors will also join the doctors in Vihiga in that process. We also have Nakuru County on notice, which we expect it to respond to the matters that we had given forth. I think on 13th of this month, they'll be in court. We'll be in court with them. And if the issues are resolved, they'll also be on strike. The same to Kilifi County, which we have a strike notice that expires on 18th. So basically, many counties are not honoring their responsibility to actually make healthcare accessible to the Kenyans.
Now, stakeholders have urged the government to create a conducive environment for growth of micro, small and medium enterprises in a bid to spur sustainable development in the area. Speaking in Kisii County, the stakeholders appealed to the national government to refrain from overtaxing small businesses, saying most of the MSMEs were struggling to remain afloat during the prevailing harsh economic times. Daniel Ombasa Apepa, one of the owners of Kisak Enterprise, said overtaxation was sending businesses out of the country and urged the government to consider moderating its revenue collection in its endeavor to finance the huge external and internal debts.
We need to work together. We should not be blaming the government. The government should not be blaming us. And one of the things I will suggest, although I know the government requires money to pay the foreign debts and everything, but to make the business environment to be conducive. All the economics everywhere in the world, they know you don't have to tax people heavily. You can only get enough revenue when everybody is working and you are taxing those people something small, ultimately you earn more. But if you overtax people, people will start thinking of moving to alternative countries, and that becomes detrimental to the government.
As you're aware, the Youth Connekt Summit is currently ongoing at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, that is KICC. A lot is indeed taking place today. But for now, the Cabinet Secretary for Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports, that is Honorable Ababu Namwamba, is currently speaking. I want us to cross over to KICC and listen in.
I was in New York a couple of months ago to sign a deal between the government of Kenya and the NBA to bring NBA value here. But can you imagine the economic value of the NBA as a product on the market? Can you imagine the economic value of the EPL, the English Premier League, as a product? Because when you're talking about the monetary plug-in and the financial benefits, it's because someone has curated it into an economic product. And it is that economic product then that is put on the market. So the EPL that brings you the English Premier League that you love to watch, you stay up late to watch your favorite English Premier League team, is a product. The NBA is a product. You love following the Grammys when the Grammy Awards are being put up. Okay, we all want to know who is the next Grammy Academy winner. It's a product. I was in LA the other day to also sign a deal with the Grammys, okay, for partnership in the music industry. It's a product. So our message to our creatives, to this continent, is that we have to catch up with the rest of the world and start commercializing our products. We have to start commercializing our sporting brands. The World Cup is a product. The Euros, Europe is now preparing to host the Euros next year in Germany, is a product. AFCON, the Africa Cup of Nations, must become a product. The European Champions League is a product. The Africa Champions League must be a product. And this is by curating it as a product and commercializing it, that's when you monetize. You start monetizing that space. And by monetizing that space, you get investments, you get the media to buy in, you get corporates to buy in, and then you have a sustainable value chain. Grace Talanta Hela is a is attempting to catch up with that thinking. Because talanta hela are two Swahili words. Talanta is a Swahili word which means talent. Hela is another Swahili word which means money. So talanta hela means talent meeting or talent becoming money. That's what talanta hela is. And talanta hela is intended to, number one, create a pipeline for identifying talent. How do we identify talents? And we have created a pipeline going all the way to the school ecosystem. Because the natural domicile of the youngest talents you have around, the natural domicile is the school ecosystem. So you have created a pipeline to schools, to colleges. The second target for talanta hela is nurturing. Once you have identified these talents, then what? So we are establishing an ecosystem of how these talents can then be nurtured, processed through platforms like the Kenya Academy of Sports, the Kenya Film School, the Kenya National Theatre. Those are platforms for nurturing the talents that you have identified. And after this talent has been nurtured, then we monetize this talent. And how are we monetizing these talents? Number one, we are connecting these talents to a global audience so that you can be seen to access opportunities. Today, I have 4 boys that we've been able to funnel into elite international academies. 3 boys who are at the Nastic Soccer Academy in Tarragona. Tarragona is just about 30 kilometers out of Barcelona in Spain. They have been able to be seen and tapped by that academy. And by establishing a relationship with that academy, it has opened the door for Kenyan talents to get into the Nastic Soccer Academy in Spain. In fact, the lead scout for that academy is landing in Kenya tonight to watch the finals of our grassroots football tournament we are calling the Talanta Hela Trophy, which is an inter-county competition for under-19 boys and girls. So, by providing the route for these boys, one of them has already been scouted by Real Madrid. They went to Madrid the other day for an exhibition program, and we have already received a report. Real Madrid wants to take a closer look at this boy. So the first effort is to showcase, place them in a shopping window, as it were, where they can be seen and they can be accessed on the biggest stage possible. The second is to attract corporate interest in that whole pipeline. Governments are good at policy, at legislation, and such, but governments are not really wired to be investors in such programs. Government can create talanta hela, but then government must be able to get the corporate sector to drive the talanta hela agenda. So we are also being very deliberate in convincing the corporate world that your money can work for you if you invest in this pipeline. And so we have a lot of programs running with, if you look behind you, those of us seated here, you look right ahead of you, you can see Safaricom. Safaricom is our premier telco in this country. Actually, one of Africa's most prominent telcos. We have convinced Safaricom to put their money in that pipeline of talent development, and they're supporting a very popular program of talent development. We have supported other corporate partners like the Kenya Commercial Bank, Absa Bank, which is a continental financial institution, to start plugging in. And that is how to sustain it. That is how the EPL can sustain the kind of monies you're talking about, corporate plugins. Now, The last bit of it, which is also quite significant, is to build a strong domestic ecosystem. You're not going to take all your best talents to Spain. How many can you be able to take to Spain? How many will you be able to take to France or the US or the UK? A vast majority must be grown here, back at home. And so you have to invest in a local ecosystem of talent academies. You have to develop a robust system in schools and colleges. You go to the US, below the elite NBA, the most competitive basketball level is college basketball. That is where the best talents are identified and nurtured. We must invest in our college system for the various sporting activities. We must invest in our local leagues. And I'm challenging you as African youth. That passion you have for English Premier League clubs, we want to see the same passion for African clubs, for your national team clubs. You hear of an African boy hanging himself because Arsenal has lost a game. And if he comes from Nigeria, if a Nyimba has lost a game, it doesn't even register on their Richter scale. They don't even notice. The same passion you have for these foreign clubs, it is you who is giving them traction. Transfer that to our local leagues. Support our local leagues. Support our national teams. Some of you are more Brazilian than South African. You know more about the Samba boys than you know about Bafana Bafana, or Harambee Stars, or Taifa Stars, or your own national team. And so we must establish a system where our local leagues, our local competitions, our continental competitions like the Africa Cup of Nations, like the African Champions League, receive solid support on this continent. And if you do that, there are 1.4 billion of us. Our population alone is more than 3 times the population of the whole of Europe put together. It is us and our support that feeds the popularity of those leagues. If we rally around our own competitions and get enough investment there, we will be able to turn these spaces into monetary products. And you do that, you create a whole value chain. Let me conclude by telling you about the Kenyan situation with football. We were susceptible to footballing activities. Meaning that then Kenyan football was frozen out of the international arena. Now, for the casual onlooker, they will say, okay, it is all about the Harambee Stars, our national football team, not being able to play competitions like the Africa Cup of Nations. But it is more than that. There is something called football economy. The football economy includes everybody who circulates in that space. That fellow who goes to the field to mark the field, to mark the pitch, to prepare the pitch. There is a fellow who provides security to that pitch. There is a fellow who does laundry for the team. There's a fellow who drives the team bus. There is a referee. There's the team doctor, the team manager. There is a whole line of people whose livelihood is completely dependent on that single football game. And so when you plug a team out of that space, you have destroyed a whole economic ecosystem. That's how you must look at it. And by investing in that space, you're not just monetizing the player or the artist. You're monetizing many other subsidiary beneficiaries whose sustenance depends on that space. That's how big this is. And so I'm obsessed about this whole monetization agenda, and we are spreading it beyond sports. We have taken it to the creatives, to the film, theater, music industry. We are taking it to innovation so that young people who are innovating. Yesterday you listened to my president, and he was telling you about the Presidential Innovation Challenge. It is part of that Talanta Hela ecosystem. And we believe that it is this platform that can help Africa deal with the huge challenge of youth unemployment. My apologies for taking a little longer. I get a bit passionate about this. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Waziri, for sharing with passion the direction that you're giving. Please go ahead, Ruben.
I think I just wanted to emphasize what Mr. Minister said around sports being really, we need to look at it from an economic way, like an economic growth engine really, than we usually do. Just for the Basketball African League, right, which is a collaboration between the NBA and FIBA. So when we do the Basketball African League, right now we've gone to 3 markets. This season we're going to go to 4 markets. And for Senegal, for example, where I'm based, with estimate, it generates about $5 million in local economy. Because when we go in, you can think about hotels we got to live in, stay in. We hire about 40 local companies, really, to help us run just the BL for about 2 weeks in every market. So this is the kind of impact we talk about in all the jobs that have been mentioned, right? Transportation, we need all of that. Like I said, communication, digital, content. So this is really the way, as we keep saying, that we have to look at sports in Africa and trying to build really the entire ecosystem. Then we have the same great experience with Rwanda. They are a bigger sponsor, and I think they've seen the vision and understanding and have drawn it to use really sports as this economic growth engine. We just renew our contract with the government for 5 more years. I think they've seen the benefit of it, right? It attracts tourism for Rwanda. Right now, because of the standard that we have raised, at least on the basketball size, there's a lot of events that they're hosting in Rwanda. Yeah, because people are seeing what the country has done, and it's becoming a hub for sports. And this is something we would love to see in so many countries. Right? We're going to go to South Africa this season for the first time. We're going to go back to Egypt. And our hope and goal is to really expand it through Africa. Like the minister just said, we just opened an office in Kenya about 2 weeks ago. And there are other countries who have expressed desire, Angola and others, and we would love to see this kind of effort toward Africa because, like we used to say, like really, there's so much potential in Africa, not only the human capital part, but the resources. And we really need all the parties, like you said, government, private sectors, everyone. We need to build this entire system, and we have everything in the continent to be able to do that and really benefit from it.
And just to add, I love what Waziri, for those of you who are not from Kenya, our Honorable Minister has said about the holistic approach and the systematic approach. Because when we talk about the creative economy, when we talk about the sports economy, it can't just be something that you take on without a strategy. It needs a process. But the one thing I want to add is the reason entertainment can be monetized is because it is entertainment. And entertainment is directly linked to storytelling. And so the power of storytelling, the power of digital storytelling around our creative and sports economy is what we really need to tap into. The reason why people are fanatics about Arsenal, Man United, Real Madrid is because of the story of the players, because of the story of that football club. So when we look at the creative economy and we look at the sports economy and we look at everything that we're doing to put a system to revitalize and to empower, the story of the players, the story of the clubs, the story of the artists, the whole ecosystem must have a narrative. And that narrative is what will sell and monetize. Thank you.
Perhaps before you come in, Ferdinand, because we are running into a bit of a time issue. With your submission, how can Africa work together? And we then do a round and last round with all the panelists. How can Africa work together on the creative economy and also on the sports industry? Thank you.
I think the first thing, as I was listening to the conversation, the first thing that I think is important is the type of curriculum that is producing our skill. I think for the most part, the curriculum of the 21st century is far ahead. And what most African universities are producing are already outdated. So we need to integrate industry and learning. And I think that's an intersection, so that you're not just training people and then they're looking for jobs. Like I'm looking for people to train because I have jobs and I need people. So I have a gap that I need to fund, but I might not carry all the cost of the training because, again, that's not my core. But if I have a training partner that can align, I know that in 6 months I can get you to a job, I can get you to a year. Now, some African countries will go to France, and it's not a problem, but if you work with a partnership in France, it's not exactly the same curriculum. In Nigeria, we had to deal with no light, had to deal with everything that was wrong. So it was hack it. The point was, anything that was not essential, a fraction of what you will spend to train people in foreign countries, you will get it training in an African country that has it. So there is an important aspect to share curriculum and to upgrade that curriculum to know what's possible. If I know Kenya has sports, like I'm learning a lot, and I think, I don't know if my country understands this the way you do. How do I get him to connect with the people in sports in Nigeria so they can learn and understand that the talents there is not just recreation or hobby. They are actually for exports, right? And they're for revenue. So we must not see entertainment and sports as hobby or recreation. It's an economic block, right? Now take, for instance, Afrobeat. Do you know, when I was growing up, for you to be a successful musician, you have to sound like a Western person. You have to rap. Guys, I don't understand what happened in the last 3-4 years. We just woke up and realized that now for you to globalize, you literally have to Africanize, not Westernize. So we're discovering a new understanding that Westernization is not necessarily development, is not necessarily globalization. Because Afrobeat is showing it for us, but there was a problem. A lot of the foreign artists today were backed by foreign funds. So while we applaud them for being black, the economic impact is not felt because the structures that drove that development was not backed by black funds. So we need African capital for African entrepreneurs and African creative. If not, the IPs will never be your own. There's going to be that subtle neocolonialism because your stories are bought and you're paid to do your stories. We must educate our people that stories are wealth. IPs are the new fuel, are the new economy, are the new oil. Creativity is the new oil, right? So, and that speaks to the policy side. I think policies are important because oftentimes Africans don't understand the politics of structuring policy. For me to produce something, I need to have a co-production treaties with a country in Europe. And my country does not have bilateral trade agreements, so I'm dead on arrival, right? Because if I sign that contract, they have their funding, my country is not backing me, so we're gone. We need to also walk the way through, understanding the policies that can unlock it, strengthen our policies around IPs, intellectual property, copyright, educate our creatives on that. The third thing I think that is also very important is understanding the value chain, right? And that leads all the way to distribution. Reality is that a lot of African producers, whether you go to sell your content on Netflix or Amazon, once you are black, they just remove 1 0. And you understand that somebody producing from Europe or US will get something better. So we have to come like black in inside and white outside to get a good deal. But I think it's not a conversation for the creatives to have. How can the power blocks of Africa from African Union or people who represent the African interest sit with some of these distributors and find a way to say our creativity is not inferior because it's black. It's not inferior because it was produced in Africa. Creativity is creative wherever you find it, right? So at the end of the day, we have to be able to back the creative so that they can unlock the economy. Because if we don't negotiate the places, we don't even have distribution channel in Africa like that. So we have to go cap in hand. But if we can get our own distribution site sorted where Africans can subscribe and back African content, you now know that the money will come back. So if we don't solve the distribution, we can only follow the value chain to a point and it drops. right? So my submission is we need a larger conversation that can bring the concept that art and entertainment is not just, there's a business of entertainment, and we must not approach it as a hobby. We must integrate the business thinking. People train talent, they don't train the business to think with them. So the artists oftentimes don't think business. They don't know how to do decks. They don't know how to do pitch. So you have to train the people that can work with them so that it's a value chain. It's not just a linear process. It's very, very vertical. To be exponential, you need to bring the ecosystem together. The writers belong. The storytellers, the animators, the producers, everybody is in the game. The directors, if you train a director and you don't train artists, it's not adding up. We need the sum of its parts to be greater than the whole.
And it's possible for us to do it together as Africa.
Yes.
Yes. Please pass on the microphone. Thank you, Ferdinand.
Thank you, Grace. There's no shortcut. Africa is bleeding. The same challenges that were faced by your likes of Hugh Masekela, the same challenges that are being faced by the artists today, or even worse. So we need to build the infrastructure. We need to build proper distribution channels. Netflix is not helping. Spotify is not helping. So we basically need to build our own tools and to basically use those tools to help our artists to monetize. Those are the things that we do grassroots. We basically need to have, again, proper channel to groom youngsters and then to basically be able to monetize their talent. Thank you.
I love what my fellow speakers are saying. And just to bring the aspect of culture and tourism, Paris is one of the biggest cultural tourism destinations and have probably $1 billion industry. Within Africa, our cultural tourism is untapped. And I like what my brother is saying. Are we going to wait for other people to come and tap into this gold, into this story, or are we going to tell our own stories? So when it comes to cultural tourism, it is an industry that has a lot of potential and that can be really told by Africans with Africans for the world. And last but not least, I believe what I've been saying here is about systems. It is about storytelling. It's about talent acquisitions. It's about knowing who is in the room. It's about making sure that those people who have the talent don't have to be pushing themselves. They don't have to fight for their space. But the space is organized, it's capacity built, it's invested, it is systematic, and we have to make sure that the potential, like I said, the crisis is we don't have the capacity. The potential is huge. Let's train for the capacity. Let's have a needs assessment of what is actually in the market and ensure that we're training our youth for that market. So we don't have graduates, we don't have people who are coming out with the wrong talents, with the wrong skills for the right market. Thank you very much.
Grace, you've asked the critical question. What is to be done? What should Africa do? And that is why we are here. We are here to answer that question, not theoretically, in a very practical sense. And we should leave Nairobi really with some practical take-homes on what to be done. For me, there are three things. Number one is a mind shift. Mind shift. Africa has a, I'm telling you, good people, our biggest challenge is not resources. Our biggest challenge is not finance. Our biggest challenge is here. We have a problem. Good people. The 1.4 billion of us have a problem. And it is a mind problem. We need to shift our thinking. This obsession that the West is best. The West is not best. The West is just West. And so, you keep consuming some creative products that are of far inferior value to African products, simply because of the color of the skin of those who are creating them. Start valuing what is African. I'm not asking you not to be global. We live in a very globalized world. There's nothing absolutely wrong partaking of products from other parts of the world. But don't treat African products as inferior. Black is beautiful. Black is gold. And let us start putting value to our products. I love it that Nigerian music, for instance, is very popular here in Kenya. Hugely popular. You put on some good Nigerian music, and this whole place would go gaga. We will try it. We'll try it, Grace, with your permission, before we end this session. Let us end it with some Nigerian music. South African music, okay? Amapiano. Amapiano is very, very popular music form here. What I'm saying is that let us elevate these African art forms to a level where we appreciate them for the value they carry, because they carry immense value. When you look at African artists that really hit global chords, do you know the only African group that has ever won a Grammy? Grammy. Tell me one African group. There's only one that has won a Grammy. Ladysmith Black Mambazo. And those of you who may not know, go to Google or go to YouTube and check Ladysmith Black Mambazo. They did not win the Grammy mimicking Western music. They won the Grammy playing beautiful African a cappella. I love Ladysmith Black Mambazo music. One of the most popular African products that has gained global acclaim and acceptance is a song called Malaika. Many of you may have heard the song Malaika. It's a very old song. Malaika is a Kenyan song. In fact, Malaika is a Kenyan word. It means angel. First created by Fadil Williams. Now, Fadil Williams did not take Malaika to the global acclaim it has attained doing Harlem rap. No. He just used authentic Swahili lyrics and Swahili beat. The world will accept you if you're original and authentic. The world will have no choice but to accept you, to embrace you. So the first thing for me, as a continent, we need a mental shift to start appreciating the beauty of our own products. The second one is to join dots. And I like what is being said here, that together we are just formidable. Together we are absolutely formidable. You know, you go to Netflix and you go to Amazon, the traffic that drives those platforms is primarily African traffic. You know, there are 1.4 billion of us on this continent. We drive the traffic on those platforms. If we join the dots by combining efforts across this continent, here in Kenya we are signing audiovisual co-production agreements with pretty much everybody on this continent. I have one with Mozambique, with Angola, with South Africa, with Nigeria, with Rwanda. We are signing co-production agreements so that we can bring our artists together and we can coalesce our efforts around this creative industry. That is important. Instead of engaging in unproductive competition, you can be formidable combining forces. Okay. And there are some art forms like Tanzanian music, Kenyan music, which if you combine together, you can have something absolutely earth-shaking. And finally, Africa. We have to take full advantage of the digital revolution we are living today. The benefits of the digital revolution must be brought to bear on transforming our creative and sporting industry. And I agree 100%. You're never going to get maximum benefit from the Spotifys of this world, from the Amazons of this world. Africa must start creating our own spaces and rally around those spaces. Spaces that are relevant to us, spaces that are sensitive to us. Under the Talanta Hela initiative, Grace, we have created an app, Talanta Hela Online. If you take your phone right now and you go to Google App Store and you search Talanta Hela, you'll find the Talanta Hela app. We have created that as an app for tapping talents, So you are in Timbuktu and you want to show us how well you can dribble. Take a 1-minute clip of yourself, upload it onto the Talanta Hela app. We have a screening room at the Kenya Academy of Sport. It will be picked real time and it will be assessed real time. And you can be invited for trials and then you can progress from there. But it's more than that. It is also a platform which we are turning into a marketplace. And I'll invite Africa. Let us turn this Talanta Hela app into our next Netflix, where we can onboard our content, where we can buy our content, where we can market our content. There is a Nigerian boy who has been talking to me. I don't know whether he's in this audience. And he's told me he has created something that can rival Amazon. I want to sit him down with my Talanta Hela tech team. And I know that you combine this Kenyan product and that Nigerian product. Hey, the rest of the world, look out. Africa is coming for you. And so let us get into that digital space, but in a manner where our numbers can be an advantage, where we can then rally around these spaces as a people. And don't be ashamed of it. Charity begins at home. And home is where for us? Africa. So let us do it. Let us build our own. Let us promote our own. Let us grow our own. Thank you.
Yeah, how do we work together in Africa collectively on the sports sector? I think on top of what everybody said, the shift of the mind, the shift of mindset of it is very important. I think, like the minister says, critical. And I think we have to set the right policies, governmental or intergovernmental policies, and we have to have the right people who are passionate about sports and who really want to do what is right for it. So to me, if we have those in place, and we understand that transfer of knowledge is critical, the knowledge doesn't have to stay in Cameroon or Senegal or wherever, we will all benefit. That's what they do in Europe. That's what they do in the US. Right? We can have a conference, a summit, whatever we want to call it, and basically where other people are transferring knowledge to others. Right? We're trying to do it at a micro level with coaches and referee clinics that we help develop, and we want them to take that knowledge and go to Africa and do it. And they are currently doing that. So to me, on top of everything we said, we have to have the right policies in place. And I think if we understand that if we work together, everybody's benefit, we're all going to win as Africa. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the benefit of speaking last is that all the good things have been said. But for those of us who were in Kigali in August, when Giants of Africa was being the festival, the Giants of Africa festival was taking place, His Excellency President Paul Kagame said that we are all giants, especially as the youth. We are giants in a way we can never understand. And that gives us a bunch of responsibilities that we have to carry this continent on our backs. And part of making sure that as Africa, we keep on growing together, we keep on collaborating, there is that exchange of knowledge, skills, capital, making sure that it circulates within the continent, making sure that it benefits Rwanda, Uganda, South Africa, Egypt, that it goes everywhere. Because this is the best market that we can ever think of. With all the discussions we've had here, the product that we want to sell, the best candidates, the best clients are on this continent, and they are going to devour it. So let's work together. Let's make sure, as Ruben just said, at policy level, let's make it easier for investors. Let's make it easier for an investor from the Gambia to invest in Rwanda, from an investor from Rwanda to invest in Lesotho. Let's make it easier for our people to bring their money to their people. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I know we are going to be having very many questions, but I think we are running out of time. I will be giving this to Grace just to, just give it up for us. But what I'm hearing here is a total mind shift, and we are a formidable force. And so this is our time. Let us plug into the areas that we can be able just to make this work for us. And our governments are here to support us. We have creatives amongst us. I'm sure they are still around with us. We can be able to just converse with them as to how we can be able to go about our issues. But allow me just to give it back to Grace so that we can be able to wind this up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for ending us up on a high note. Thank you, Waziri. I'd like to recognize the presence of Honorable Minister Carlos as well, who joined us throughout the session. Thank you very much. As Honorable Minister Ababu requested, let's end this session with a dance, Nigerian music. If possible, after the Nigerian music, a bit of amapiano. And I would invite the Honorable Minister who's in the room to please come forward so we take a picture and end this session. So you're granting us 10 minutes? Okay. We'll take 2 minutes, 2 questions. Okay. 3. One question from this side, one question from this side, and then Miriam. Yes. Yes.
On a point of privilege. The reason we pay so much money to come here, so that we can engage such
Check 1, 2. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I'm Mogola James. The titles that we agreed, we leave them out of the door. Here, everyone is equal. Not so. To our panelists, first of all, we thank you for your time. Personally, I'm an athlete. I've been in sports since I was 3 years old. My first sport was called dodging. Your mother throws you sleep, you have to dodge. Anyone who can relate? We are all Africans, we can relate. That was the first sport I ever did, dodging from my mother's whips. Then from that, I discovered flexibility, agility, speed, and defense. And now, 18, 20 years later, I'm playing 16 sports. I've represented my country in 2 different sports. I target to represent them in 5. Good. So, first of all, I support the CS on mentality. One of the problems we face as Africans is that right now here, we are saying about how to support. But our kids at home will say, I want to play football professionally. And you will deny as a parent, I want you to be an engineer, I want you to be a lawyer. So we need to switch our mentality as Africans and support the growth. Secondly, on advice to Rwanda and any other country, Kenya is doing it right now, we have what you call CBC. And CBC has involved sports as part of the curriculum. Right now, a sport in Kenya called Frisbee, and another sport called Kabaddi. So you imagine in the next 10 years, the level of Frisbee in Kenya and Kabaddi in Kenya. It will be world-class level. So to the other countries, you can input it. You can put your sports into schools. It will help them grow. It will take time, but anyway, Githurai was never built in a day. Thirdly, intermarry. This is one of the biggest solutions you can do. Intermarry. At the end of the day, we're all creatives. I know some people think that an athlete playing football is not a creative. A creative is the likes of Kenya doing TikTok, okay? But this is the thing. When that player wants to pass that ball exactly to another player, that is creativity. So let us intermarry the whole package. Athletes to tourists, to fashionistas. Because look at this angle. Let's say, for example, the national. You see, check 1, 2. So this is what I think to my CS. For example, athletes, national team, okay? There's no athlete who can go without music. We need music to relax. We need music to get into the mood to play. Not so. We need that fashion. We need to dress up to go to the game. Now, what about if African countries can employ our culture, our stories, through national team dressing? For example, my brother, please stand up. What if Kenya national team rugby can travel like that to the Olympics and stand for a photo? Won't we be selling our country? Everyone will be wanting to see. Which country is that? That is very beautiful. Thank you. Now imagine Zimbabwe with their natural regalia, South Africa with their Zulu dances. So to my people, I really pray that we change our mindsets, we push our families. And finally, finance is the solution. What about we start, like I come from Githurai, what about if there's a team? Can the businesses there be the first sponsors for those kids? Because they're our kids. If we can say 50 bob from every business within Githurai to support the academy of football or whatever, then now when it's the national team, now the government will have an easier time to do any other thing. Otherwise, thank you, be blessed, and it's a pleasure.
Issues about inclusive leadership and governance for persons with disabilities, especially the youth and student with disabilities. Bwana CS, you are my role model in this space. From the time you are an MP, I've been following you. And one issue that we're grappling with, especially in supporting the issues about Paralympics and adaptive sports for persons with disabilities, especially the young people, is even financing. We're grappling with challenges because we find that in a year, if we go for any game is only one competition, we are like admiring to get to the Olympics as any other person. That is especially for the Paralympics. But we can't get to qualify for these Olympics or these competitions when the issues about financing is not sorted out. It's something that we are grappling with. Another thing is about the para sports and adaptive sports. I got into the IOC with an idea that we get to the university curriculum or the university framework so that we tap into the young people with disabilities who have no advantage of penetrating through to the federations who have para teams so that at least they can be able to tap into their talent because we have diverse talent. And with this, we really need your input because through the program within the IOC is that we want to open up the university space so that the young people we use that advantage to hasten issues about provision of inclusive education and supporting disability awareness and disability inclusion within our sports, within issues about talent, because it is not just about sports, it's even about the creative economy, how those talented musicians, other players. And the third bit is about interlinking parasports with other sectors, issues about economy, issues about the jobs, issues about economic development and community development at large. I really wish to work with you to harness Talanta Hela and make it, like inclusive, so that the young people with disabilities in this country and far and beyond can also be tapped into this, because they are a critical resource that, when harnessed, can enable to bring the picture of inclusion from the disability lenses, so that at least whenever we have the gender lens inclusion, we also have the disability lens inclusion within the Talanta Hela framework.
Thank you very much.
Asante.
Thank you. Please pass the mic to the gentleman behind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. May I first allude to the beautiful people behind me? We have limited time. May we please get to the question? So this is my question. Number one, is it really an issue of capacity building, or it's an issue of tapping into the markets? Why am I saying this? I love what Nigeria has done. Nigerian movies in the past 2010s and so forth were terrible in terms of quality. I'm pretty sure it was an issue of capacity in terms of making that particular product quality. However, they were able to penetrate the market in such a very strong way, in such a way that everyone in this room knows Nigerian music, movies, music, and so much. So is it really an issue of capacity, or it's an issue of tapping into the market? And are we really going to wait for people to get capacity, or are we going to be aggressive and take what we have and tap into the market? And please, can we ask questions and not tell stories? Thank you so much. I'm still hiding behind the minister.
Thank you. Could we move on to the other section? Take one more question. Give the opportunity to ladies.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to ask my question. Mine is just about what we talked about the creative industry and the sports industry and how we are going to monetize that. And I'm really happy that we are all here for that. But what I would like to know is that in Africa, as we are doing this, we should really try and work together as one continent and move the African way. But let us not forget that we have people with disabilities, just like as the other gentleman has said. So my question is the app like the Talanta Hela, is it accessible to people with disabilities? For example, are the sports academies accessible to people with disabilities? Are we really inclusive? Because if we are not inclusive, then we are leaving some people behind. And remember, with the strategic plans that we have, we are not supposed to leave anyone of us behind. So let us move together as one, and let us talk and walk the talk about inclusivity. And I'm really happy that, Bwana Waziri, that you've talked about the Talanta Hela app. Also, my concern is that it's accessible to people with disabilities. Just the other day, we hosted the Deaf Africa Championships, and I was so happy because we got a lot of support from our CS, and we did so much with the sports. We encouraged people with disabilities, and it was all for the deaf, and I think other countries should do the same. He's like our ambassador when it comes to people with disabilities and sports, and I hope as you go back home, try and get some notes from our CS. He's doing so much in that area. Thank you so much.
Hi, wonderful. Hi, everyone. My name is Lucy Wanjiko Jenga. I am the author of this book. It's called Hope Made a Way. I'll give every panelist a copy because I want to see it go out there. One thing that I want to hear that I'm not hearing enough is something to do with writers, something to do with authors of this country. We are here, but you're not being talked of enough. We don't have those publishing houses that make you or guarantee that you'll become a bestseller. I would really love to be the next Chimamanda of Kenya, you know, and people to be referring me to, you know, the Lucy Wanjiko of Kenya. I want to be the Lucy Wanjiko of Kenya, not just Chimamanda. So hopefully you're going to make that happen, CS, and with all the supporting people in this world, bring the book out to the world. We just need more, honestly. There's so much to say, but we just need more to be done. Thank you.
Shiko, we are not taking your books for free, we are buying them. Otherwise, it will not be monetization. So each of you receiving that book, please dip your hand in your pocket and buy it. Yes, we are buying it. We are buying those books. I would love to hear a voice from another part of Africa. Just a different part of Africa. Which country is this? Zimbabwe. Yeah. Let's hear something from Zimbabwe, please.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, and everyone. Thank you so much, the panelists. I had a question, and possibly I would then say something else. But my question is, I'm really concerned with the artist who is in here. I myself am an entrepreneur, but I run an initiative which deals with artists. These guys have spoken eloquently and have given so much good advice. But I want them to take it really down to help, to make it pragmatic, as you were saying, Minister. Because, yes, let's monetize. But I'm coming from a business perspective as an entrepreneur, of course. How do we structure, how do we handle our art, our sport as a business? Do we have you guys had, if you have, then you possibly just give us the advice of how this artist can also progress. Do you have a business model for your art? Do you have defined processes, systems to say, because yes, we might want to monetize everything, but if we're monetizing everything, it means this is business. So do we have the proper models that you have used, that you have implemented, that you can share with us to say, okay, yes, I'm a young poet, I'm a young artist, or I draw or whatever. How then do I go to? Do we have registered businesses? Are we compliant to everything that pertains to business when it then comes to monetizing our craft? Basically, that's my submission. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take two more. Another part of Africa. I'm not taking a Kenyan for now. I want to hear a voice from any other. Which country? Uganda? Yes, let's go to Uganda, please.
All right, thank you very much, Right Honourable Minister. I am by the name young Ronnie Geoffrey from Uganda. I am so glad to be in front of you once again. I remember you didn't give us enough time when we were in for Youth Lead, and today when I saw you, I was extremely very humble to see you once again. I am trying to move direct to the Department of Sport. I don't know, as the Minister of Sport, actually among the Ministers of Sport in Africa, I always question my mind why most of the young people who are talented in football, they're always representing the other countries, maybe from, maybe in international football, like World Cup. Instead of playing for Kenya, you find Kenyans playing for England. You find Indians playing, Nigerians playing for maybe Brazil. So I don't know what move you have taken in as far as football is concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any other country? Which country? Rwanda. Let's listen to Rwanda here. Grace, I'm sorry. I think this is important just to have a bit of a feel across the continent.
Check. Turn up my mic. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody who's here. Mine is not a question. It's a wish, rather. My name is Christiane Uwase Bukuru, and I'm a singer from Rwanda. And I've seen two creatives that I could be interested to work with. So please get your contact. Please, Jesus Christ, please use me.
Yes, it is Youth Connekt. And so Guys, you have to connect with the young lady so that you can do some things together. That is why we are gathering here, so that we can
Corporate
network.
and startup partnership that fully just ensure that all the goals have been achieved.
Yes. Okay. Any other country?
Thank you.
Which country is this? Rwanda? Can I hear another country that we not have? Which country? South Sudan? Let's hear South Sudan, please. South Sudan right at the back. South Sudan. Very, very briefly, we want a feel of Africa.
Okay, thank you. My name is Lina Lunjok, actually from South Sudan. My question will briefly go to the topic of today, that's concerning the sport. As coming from South Sudan, actually we normally say that Kenya is like our second home, which is something that we say due to the conflict we have in our country, and of course the Kenya accommodate us and we live here peacefully. So I have two questions. One, it goes to you, the minister, and thanks because I get the opportunity to interact with you today. I'm sure you will agree with me that we as South Sudanese, we are mainly here, especially the youth, and I can say that we are one of the African countries that are so popular in Kenya, which give me a direct question like this. You know, Kenya has been having many forums, many initiatives, but we feel like we are excluded, we are not included. And the reason is that I'm not blaming Kenya, I'm blaming where I come from. Maybe our first priority is not to promote talent for the youth, but is to talk about peace, because we are we are at war. So how can Kenya government, through you, the Minister of Youth, ignore all those connections that you must have, or the collaboration that you must have with our government, and just to deal with us, the ones that are in Kenya? Can that be possible?
It is very possible, and that's why you are here.
All right, if that is possible, I will need a further interaction with you. My second question is going to be a question that also generates the issue of talent promotion. Yeah, we have so many talents. Even I myself, I'm a coach of one of my team here in Nairobi, Kenya. We have good footballers, but we know how to nurture talent from a background. But what we lack as a country, because of the failure of connection, because if your country does not have a connection globally, you will not be able to access these organization or forum or initiative that can take your...
Ask the question. We have very little time remaining.
All right. So my question will just go direct like this. How can we begin to cooperate with initiatives, or how can I call them, forums that can nurture our talents?
Okay.
Yes.
I got the question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Allow me to very, very quickly. I will take Zach. I'll take you at the back, Zach, and the gracious lady here, and then finish with you, Ole Kaputa. Okay. So Zach, just in 1 minute, please, quickly.
Thank
a
you,
minute each.
Thank you for the opportunity. Okay, mine personally is not a question, but I have seen opportunity. And we are told that whenever you see opportunity, you must utilize it at that time. Waziri, I must say thank you for your support. I'm here, Katase Honorable Ababu Namwamba, who has been very supportive to me. The reason why I'm here because of this electronic substitution board, which Waziri has really helped me and has really promoted it. The reason why I've decided to start is because I've seen an NBA here, And Waziri, I want to tell you that we are capable of making basketball scoreboards. And I ask for cooperation with NBA to please consider us. Waziri has done so, and I think we have not disappointed him. Also, to the Minister of Youth and Sports from Africa who are present, please consider buying our product, which has been tested, and it is being used in Kenya. Thank you.
It is African, it's made in Africa. As you can see, it works as song. Minister Cape Verde, this should get to Cape Verde. And NBA, Zach, this is a platform for networking. So after this, the minister from Cape Verde is here, NBA is here, do a bit of networking. And let us stop shaming Africa with using cardboards and paper at our games when we have young people who have innovated this and it is available. We can have this in all our sporting events. We can use it for school games, for national leagues, for international events. It is a superb product and I can vouch for it. We'll do Rwanda here quickly. Yes, just you're the lady here. Yes. You're from which country? Cape Verde, eh? So we'll do Rwanda and then Cape Verde. Yes.
Thank you. Good evening once again. My name is Bella. I'm from Rwanda. I'm here as a founder and CEO of Ilba Products. We manufacture hair care products for natural hair. Actually, what we do is we share stories, our stories through hair. But I'm a former artist, visual artist, and it's what I'm going to be asking about. So usually, like the app you've talked about, there are many people in Africa, yes, who can access these apps, but you cannot ignore the people who do not have access to these social media platforms, who do not have smartphones, which are not a small percentage actually. And I've seen very many talented people in rural areas, but their talents are not being tapped in. And for that, there are very many foreigners who come and make a so-called NGO to help rural artisans and use their talent, use their portraits, use their talent, then sell it on a higher rate, yet they're being paid on a small rate. And I wonder what is being done for those people also, because if we keep to ignore it, people who see the value of the talents will continue using it alone. Thank you.
Brilliant point, brilliant point. Asante sana. Cape Verde, briefly, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Bwana Waziri. By birth, I'm a Kenyan from 001.
But you are speaking for Cape Verde?
Yeah.
Hey.
They sent me to do that.
Umejituma?
No, he doesn't understand English, and therefore,
okay,
I have to stand in for him.
Okay.
He is a recommendation that such kind of forums...
But that's what borderlessness is about.
Yeah.
Kenyan speaking for Cape Verde. How borderless?
It's borderless because actually that is the borderless stuff.
Okay, please make your point in just half a minute.
The issue is such forums should be as expository as possible.
Okay.
The dialogue should be more than presentations.
Yes.
So that we get that forum to exchange ideas and have expositories at otherwise, that's the input.
That is exactly why I'm allowing this session to extend a little further.
Thank you very much.
Because it is supposed to be a dialogue, not a monologue. Okay. Which country at the back? Kenya? No. Which one? Zambia. Let's listen to Zambia. Let's listen to Zambia quickly.
Good afternoon, Honorable. Thank you for this opportunity. Angela Chadupa. I'm from Zambia. I'm coming from the government sector. I wanted to learn from your government, Honorable, what funding initiatives or strategies that has worked for Kenya to foster the creative industries. Thank you.
Funding. Okay, I think we will close it there. I will take the gentleman at the back, and then Ole Kaputa, you'll close for us quickly this session. Yes. Wewe Mkenya wewe. Niko kwako. Kwa mhutasari. Kwa mhutasari tu.
Asante. Waziri, my name is Yusuf. I work for the UDA party in the communications department. First of all, I want to congratulate you for an amazing job you're doing. My question is to my Nigerian brother. excellent experience in film. And when you look at our country, the cost of equipment actually is one of the biggest things that are keeping young people away from engaging into creative industry. So Waziri, I know probably we were in this government with you. What are we doing probably to encourage in terms of probably incentives so that equipment is affordable, so that we have more equipment and get more young people into this sector? Asante.
Okay, very good question. Extremely good question. Which country? Ivory Coast. Eh? And the other one behind you? Come on, buddy. No, we will go to Côte d'Ivoire. Okay, we'll hear Côte d'Ivoire quickly. Yes.
Bonjour tout le monde. Je m'appelle Kwadiondri Denise. Je suis journaliste et aussi déléguée du Conseil national des jeunes de Côte d'Ivoire. Alors nous faisons partie de la délégation qui est aujourd'hui à Nairobi pour participer au Youth Connekt. Le constat qui est fait, je n'ai pas de question, mais j'ai un constat, c'est qu'on parle de connexion. Et quand on parle de connexion, c'est de toute l'Afrique qu'on parle. Mais je remarque que l'Afrique francophone et l'Afrique anglophone n'est pas véritablement connectée. Parce que là, la barrière de langage fait que c'est difficile de s'intégrer. Et aussi, nous, en tant que francophones, c'est difficile d'avoir des connexions. Ce que j'aimerais attirer comme attention ici, c'est que nos différents États, c'est-à-dire les États des pays anglophones et francophones, tissent encore de plusieurs coopérations pour permettre cette connexion-là de toute l'Afrique. Parce que nous, en tant que francophones, quand nous ne comprenons pas réellement ce qui se passe à cause du langage, il y a ce blocage-là. Et en termes de connexion, je pense qu'il faut créer de réelles coopérations, notamment chercher à permettre à ce que tous les États puissent parler français comme anglais pour permettre le brassage. C'était ce que j'avais à dire. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. You know, that is such a fundamental issue, that issue of language and that important question. Ol Kaputa, can you close for us this session?
Thank you so much, Waziri. My name is Dr. Ambassador Joshua Olekaputa. I come from a place called Narok, and of course they say it's a remote place, but it is not because we are there. And we thank God that we are in a position to come here and speak on behalf of the Maasai people and the people of Kenya. Well, Waziri, first I have two questions, but before I ask, I just have something to say. Well, for a long time, the Kenyan creative industry has not been recognized and appreciated. We so much work on appreciating the people that come outside this country, especially the artists. They are really paid good money. But when you want Olekaputa to showcase the Kenyan culture, he comes with people, he comes with, with the Masai regalia and everything, but he's given 100,000 when some is being given 2 million or 3 million. Well, I have seen in your era that you are really embracing the creative arts. We really appreciate the fact that mentality is really changing through you. We really appreciate, and we look forward to seeing at least a great improvement through your leadership. Well, my question is, what is the government doing in Africa, or else the government's doing in Africa to promote culture through sports? That's one. Number two, I think I've already spoken about that. Is it possible to embrace our own creative industry and work towards that? Thank you.
Thank you. Grace, I don't know how much time you want to give us to make some quick response. 5 minutes? Okay, 5 minutes. We'll share the 5 minutes. Anybody who may want to respond among us, the panelists, will share the 5 minutes. Yes, quickly, just like a half a minute each.
Okay, so the creative economy, the intersection of the creative and the digital is called the gig economy. And I want to speak to the fact that it's important for every creative here. The government is doing enough or not doing enough is one side of the equation. You have to take ownership of your development. And there are resources that are available now. A lot of Nigerians learn on YouTube, learn on Google, right? And while that is not universal for everyone, it's still worth stating in this place that if you don't have as much access, learn how to create your own opportunities. Identify the top 10 earning skills in the creative economy and master at least 2 or 3, and you can remote from there. He spoke about the case of Kapat and distribution. I think that the Nigerian movie industry did not always start at that level, but a lot of growth has come in, right? And it's been attracting a lot of very experienced people now, attracting foreign direct investment, attracting streaming platforms. And I think that's something to be said to other industries across the room, that it's about steady, consistent improvement. Don't let what you don't have stop you. Start with what you have where you are, and then learn to grow and improve on it over time. And the world will notice.
Thank you.
They're noticing with Afrobeat and movies.
Thank you very much. You have something to say? Yes, something to respond to quickly. Yes.
Just to add on, I think the one thing that we have to do is parallel interventions and parallel movement. So we need a whole holistic approach. And when we talk about a creative, making it pragmatic or contextualized to the artist, I think Waziri, we need kind of like talent managers and talent scouts. A talent manager can be someone who is trained and then given out to the different artists, etc., to help them manage. And then the talent scout is to the app, because it's true, actually majority of youth don't have access to social media.
Okay.
So we need talent scouts on the ground.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything to respond to? You're good? You're good? The lady from Rwanda wanted some interaction after this with the artists, and the young man from Kenya will want some interaction with the minister and yourself for NBA. So that can happen immediately after this. But quickly, just to say that we should curate these sessions, just my experience from now, to be more interactive. Less panel, more interactive. Because I am getting so much just listening. And it is by listening to you that then we are able to shape policy, shape legislation, shape the various measures we need to take. And while we may not be able to quickly, to respond, because the issues you've raised are not necessarily for responding to, they are for setting the agenda and helping us to frame the outcomes of this summit. And very quickly, my friend from South Africa, you talked about whether it's a question of the quality of product or plug into the market. For me, it is not a one issue. It is a complex matter. It takes the kind of products you are putting out there, because the kind of product will ultimately determine how you are able to successfully plug into the market. I remember early in the Nollywood, in the life of Nollywood, the Nigerian movie industry, the products were really low quality, really, really low quality. But they have grown to an extent where today you get a video from Nigeria and it's really top level. It can compete with any across the world. And those are some of the things that we need to do. Connekt. The other day I hosted Pato Ranking in my office, the young Nigerian artist who came to see me. And he was sharing with me his experience, how he has grown as an artist. And I could see so many dots that could easily be connected with Kenyan artists. And that is why I emphasize the point of learning from one another and building synergy with each other and unleashing this African force by combining forces. And I'm a big advocate for audio-visual co-production amongst African artists, so that you can build each other up. You become a giant by standing on the shoulders of other giants, in the words of Isaac Newton. Now, my South Sudanese brother, this is an open space, and we are talking borderless, borderless, borderless. We want everybody to belong to this and to plug into this. My dear sister from Zambia would be very happy to share models on financing. And one of the things we have done here in Kenya is that we have placed a tax on gambling. Gambling has become, or betting, let me call it betting. It's actually sport betting. Sport betting, as you know, is now a big commercial space. Kenya has placed a levy on sport betting, a fraction of which comes to my ministry directly for purposes of supporting creatives and sporting activities, which makes it easy to have some resource base that is dedicated to that space. It's a model which would easily be glad to share with Zambia. My brother from Zimbabwe talked about how do you work with business models. You need a business model. You need a business plan. If we are going to transform this into full-blown entrepreneurship, then we need to run it as a business. I agree with you exactly. I know many young artists, many young sports people who blow their earnings at a faster rate than the money comes in. Okay, and so they need to be assisted to develop business plans, how to progress your talents. We are working with banks like the Kenya Commercial Bank to provide investment intelligence. As you make your money, how do you invest that money? Financial literacy. Not all of us are financial literates. A lot of us make a lot of money while financially illiterate, and the money then doesn't really serve you. So we have to manage that space better and run that space as a business space. My dear sister there from Cote d'Ivoire is talking about the language barrier, this Francophone, Anglophone divide. We need to get rid of that thing. By the way, every time I hear that thing, it grates my conscience. That 60 years since independence, since political independence, Africans are still talking, I'm Francophone, I am Anglophone. Don't you really feel ashamed of that? Isn't it shameful that we are still being described by our colonial masters? That's still the description by which we identify ourselves. Let us drop those things. Africa, and that is why, for us, this borderless agenda is so key. Borderless by forgetting all those things. My president told you yesterday that the fellows who introduced the visa have ditched the visa. We are still clinging onto the visa. The fellow who partitioned Africa under the leadership of some fellow called Otto von Bismarck in some room in Berlin many years ago in 1886, okay? They're still pulling their strings, and even you are identifying yourself by their tags. And when I talk about mind shift, it's about liberating our minds from those tags. I tell you, young people, I was in a conference someplace in the world. It was a conference of ministers. I was horrified to see an African minister stand in that conference and say, this one is not possible in Africa. And his mindset that was that really, the rest of the world is able to do this, but in Africa we are not ready to do this. I was horrified by an African policymaker, an African leader who still believes the neo-colonial thinking that Africans cannot do certain things. You young people, you must break free from that thinking. There is nothing another race can do that an African cannot do. Nothing. Absolutely zero. Zero. Do not put a race tag on the ability of this continent to do things. And let us promote our languages. Swahili as a language is spoken by over 200 million people already. It's the lingua franca for the East African community. The East African community is a community now of 8 countries with over 400 million people. It is already an African Union language. I'm so happy that countries like South Africa is now offering Swahili as a language. How can the Chinese be learning Swahili and you in Zimbabwe or Mozambique or Botswana, you're not learning Swahili, and the Chinese are learning Swahili? The Chinese are running Swahili language programs on TV, on radio, because they have realized the power of penetrating a people through what? A language. So let us promote our African languages. And those languages that are already cross-border, those languages that are already borderless, like Swahili, send this language to a level where it can start becoming our glue to connect, so that someday we will only need this when we are in a place where people are not speaking our African languages. But we'll be very comfortable in speaking to each other in Swahili, in Fulani, in Amharic, and other African languages. Let us take pride in having these languages offered in our schools and in our colleges. Let us start getting our leaders go to the United Nations and deliver speeches in Swahili. Let other people look for these things. What is wrong with an African president going to the United Nations and addressing the world in Swahili? Sometimes I watch my athletes, Kenyan athletes. They beat the world every day. Kenyan athletes are always setting world records. So you see a Kenyan athlete, she has just run a marathon, broken the world record. Then some foreign journalist places a microphone in front of her, and she starts struggling to speak in Swahili. And I'm like, come on, girl, speak Swahili. Let the journalist look for other ways to understand what you're saying. Speak Swahili. And if you are Kalenjin, speak Kalenjin. If you are Luya, speak Luya. If you are in Nyarwanda, speak Kinyarwanda. And let that journalist go look for interpretation. Because you'll find Russians speaking Russian. Unapologetically. So why are you apologetic speaking your language? Are you hearing me? Do you get the mind shift we must make? That you judge each other's intelligence by how well they speak English. They say, oh, this guy is so cool because they speak such good English. Drop it. Start judging each other by how well you can speak Kinyarwanda and Kiswahili. I want to learn a bit of that, Grace, before we leave here. Now, bottom line as we close, we must do things together. We must build our products. We must synergize our efforts. And above all, in the spirit of African renaissance, we must take pride in our Africanity. We must take pride in what makes us a people. And for Youth Connekt moving forward, we must make sure that after every Youth Connekt summit, starting with this 6th one, we have a product that we will celebrate at the next one. Something that is solid, something that is substantive. For instance, why can't Youth Connekt come up with a Creatives Award program which will reward the best upcoming African artists every year at every Youth Connekt summit? And it is something which Kenya would be very happy to ignite and even to help mobilize resources around. Okay? And we have an African-wide competition leading up to the next Youth Connekt summit. And you know you are coming to Youth Connekt if you are a creative, you are a musician, you are in the film industry, you are in theater, you know Youth Connekt will have a reward platform where you can showcase your talent and you will be exposed to the world and will put some serious money in your pocket. And I agree with Ole Kaputa. Let us stop this habit that you bring in a foreign artist, you pay them 10 times what you are paying the local artist. It is criminal. Even God in heaven will not forgive you. I am telling you for true. You have to be fair in how you remunerate these artists. Otherwise, this has been a fantastic platform. Thank you very much. The conversation does not end in this room. The conversation continues the networking continues. God bless Africa. God bless us all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Waziri. A round of applause for Waziri and the other panelists. A round of applause to the audience for being here and even engaging in the discussion. Thank you very much. And grace.
If
Thank you very much.
All currencies. You can take naira, you can take any currency. So you make sure you collect from all of us. And some music.